Alright, let's talking about expression statements and bugs. Well, now we have literal values and variables and operators. So we put them together, we get these expressions. So expressions is that we connected literal values, variables, and operators, collect them together, we got the expressions. So expressions can do a kind of work. It can perform a kind of work in the program. Okay. For example, here we have our expression. This assignment operator and it's 0. So we will do the tasks to put the literal values to the variable I. Okay. And the next is a method invocation. We use this expression to print out a string on the text screen. Okay, this is about the expressions. Well, there's a question about the operator precedence. That means if we have expression, inside expression, we have more than one operators. So these operators, when they performed, which one will be performed first? And which one will be performed next? Okay, so they must have an order. Now we have a list to define this order from the top to the bottom. The precedence is from higher to lower. Okay, so for example, the increment and decrement, this precedence is higher than the additive or the shift or the bitwise. Okay, and this is the precedence for the operators. For example, now I have three integers, k, I, and j, and assign them 1, 1, 0 respectively. And now we have expression. The expression is I, we increment I, and then we add I and k together, and the result will give j. Okay, this is a very simple expression. So when we do these operations, when we execute this statement, how it performed? Here's the increment, here's the add operation, here's the assignment operation. Well, which one should be done first? Which one should be done next? Okay, so you can think about these questions. And maybe you can write the statements in a program to verify your thinking, to verify your idea. Okay, so this answers what is I, what's J. I'm not gonna give you an answer, and you can find your answer by yourself. Okay. Next, we comes to the statements. Now we have expressions. The expressions cannot be executed unless we put an end to the expression. So this expression can be executed and as a unit of execution. Okay, this is the semicolon. Yeah, we put the semicolon at the end of the expression, so the expression becomes a statement. For example, I, we assign 0 to I, we add semicolon, so we have get assignment statements. And now it's same. Increment k and put a semicolon behind the k, so we get increment statements. And it's the same. Invocation the method, and we create object, They are all statements. So with the semicolon, we put it at the end of the expression, we get this expression statement. Okay. The next type of statement is declaration statement. That means we can define a variable. Maybe it's a primitive type of data. Maybe it's a reference type. Okay. And once we declare a variable, we can assign a little value to it at the same time. But you can keep it aside. So you can define a variable here and put a semicolon at the end of the I. It's a statement. But I, this variable, have not been initialized. So in the future, in the next line of code, you should assign some little value to it. Okay. So this is the statements. We name it a declaration statement. When we declare a variable, you can define it, or at the same time assign some little value to it. Okay, it is declaration statement. And the third one is control flow statements. We will talking about in the next section. Okay, it's about statements. Now blocks. What is blocks? A block is a group of 0 or more statements. A group of statements. We put these statements in the blocks. The blocks marked as a balanced braces. A balanced braces, for example, now we have two blocks. It is called this bracket and this bracket, the left bracket and the right bracket, this brace, and inside it's a block. So it's a first block, the first block. And then the next block, this left bracket, the left and the right bracket. Inside, it's another block. So we have two blocks. There's first block, there's second block, and there's the if-else statement. We execute this statement. If it's true, then we get into the first block. If it's false, we get into the second block. Okay, this is blocks. It's a group of statements, and we put it inside a pair of brackets, braces. Okay. Now we move on to the next section about this control flow statements. Okay. Control flow statements. Well, we have these several type of control flow statements. They are looping, the decision making, or exception handling, and branching. Okay, we're talking about them one by one. Okay, first about looping. A looping structure, we use while and a do while statement to form a looping structure. For example, while. Okay, in this parenthesis, put some kind of expression in it. This expression must have a Boolean value, true or false. Okay, and this block, it's a looping body. Looping body in this block. Okay, the statements with looping body. For example, now we have energy variable as I, and initialize it at 0, and then we use these relational operators we form an expression is to I less than 10 and put it in the while in this parenthesis. And in this looping body, we have two statements. The system out print line, we print out the string on the screen. Are you finished yet? And then we increment I. So this looping body, inside the looping body, each time this variable will be incremented by 1 from 0 the first time, and second time becomes 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, till it's 9. Okay, it's 9 is still a variable for this looping body, but if it's 9 increment by 1 and the result is 10, when the I becomes 10, this expression, this value f is evaluated will be false. So this looping will end. So this looping body will be executed 10 times. So we get 10 lines of string on the screen. Are you finished yet? And then we got finally. Okay. So this is the while loop structure, while statements. And the same, the do while. The do while, the different from while is that this looping body is before the while statement. Inside the while statement is still an expression which is value should be a boolean, and this do while structure, that means this looping body will be executed before the expression be evaluated. It's very important for us. These statements will be executed before the first time, before the expression being evaluated. But the while loop, well, the first step, we evaluate the expression. If it's true, then we do the looping body. But in the do whiles, we do the statements at the first step, and the next step, we evaluate expression. Okay. So for example, now we have an I variable. It is still an integer, and we give it 0 as an initializing value, and then we do while and do the same statement inside this looping body and print out are you finished yet, and then increment I the variable by 1, and then we do the while expression and evaluate expression. If the I less than is true, this looping body will do it again. If it's false, we end the loop. So it's the same. We will print out this string 10 times, and then finally, okay, it's the same result. And the for statement. The for statement, we can construct a looping structure, but the structure is different from the while or do while, is that in the for, in this parenthesis, we should give 3 stuff: the initialization, the termination, and increment. The 3 stuff inside its parenthesis for the for statement. And if this initialization or termination or increment, we keep them as empty, nothing in it, so we get the infinite loop. And if we want to use while or do while to construct the infinite loop, we're the same. So use while with true, and it's my looping body. It's an infinite loop. Or do something. Okay, well, the same. We put the boolean value true inside the while. Inside the parentheses, we get infinite loop. And if we use the for with the empty, okay, inside it, initialization, termination, incremented, we keep them empty. Okay, we got infinite loop. So we have 3 types of infinite loop. And then the for loop, in the initializing I variable from 0, start from 0, and the termination is to judge if I is a variable less than 10 or not. If it's less than 10, so do the looping body. If it's not, okay, end the loop. So each time we increment the I by 1, use the increment I plus plus, okay. So these statements, system.9, are you finished yet? The same from 0, then the 1, the next 2, 2 is 9. Okay, but when the I increment by 1, it becomes 10, this looping body at the end. Okay, and finally we printed finally. So inside initialization, we can put two variables inside it. For example, here we put I and j at the same time, and the increment we increment I and j, both of them will be increment. Okay, this is about the for statements, and there's a loop. We name it as enhanced for loop. This loop is a structure. It's a variable. If we use the Java development tool, JDK, about 1.5 version, it's a variable. For example, 1.6, 1.8, 1.7, it works. It's a variable. But if we use a quite older version of the JDK, it's not supported. It's enhanced for loop. Okay, how it works? There's a for enhanced for loop inside the parentheses. Instead of 3 steps, we only put this format into this parenthesis. It's a variable and connection. That means if now we have a connection means what? A connection is a set. We have a connection means a set or array. Okay, inside a set or array, we have a lot of items inside it. The connection, for example, array, we have 10 items inside the array. So if we want to access all these items one by one, the very simple way to do it to use the enhanced for loop. For example, that means traversal the set or the array. Okay. For example, now we have a string array. A string array inside the array, we have 3 string objects: Java, new, and integer. Okay, and I want to access them one by one. So I put this S. The S is a reference to a string array. We put it here as a connection, and define a variable as string value because the items, all these items inside of the array are all string type. So we define a type of string type as str here, and then we can use this str to access all these string items inside this array. So system of '9 and the array element is put it still here. So this for loop will automatically to access all the items inside the array one by one. We mean the traversal, the set, or the array. We use the enhanced for loop to do the tasks. It's more easy and more simple. Okay. And the next is if-else statement. If-else statements means we can make some decision, right? We put expression inside the parenthesis. If this expression is true, evaluate as the result is true, then we execute the first block. Inside block, a lot of statements inside this block. If the expression is false, we execute the second block. Okay, it's very simple. If-else branch. So we just as expression here is a condition. If it's true, we execute the first blocks, and if it's false, we end in the second block. Okay, it's if-else statement, and you can connect a lot of if-else statements and form a complex structure. That means if else, if else, if else. So we got a very complex statement structure. Yes, another expression, and the two branch. Okay, that is if else statements. And then our example here. Now we have expression here and two block. The first block, if it's true, the first block is false. The second block is the first block is the second block. And expression. This expression is the method invocation. We use the class method to name a character. The method name is is uppercase. Is uppercase inside the parenthesized parameter is a character. Is a character. If this character is uppercase, for example, A is uppercase, so this expression evaluated, it will give the result as true. So we will will enter the first block, executed statement system print 9. So we print out the character A is uppercase. Okay. If we put this parameter, we get the small a into it. So this is uppercase will return false. So we will enter the second block and execute the statements, and we print out the character A is lowercase. So it's a very simple example. And we can rewrite it, use the question mark and colon. This is operator. So that is with system P9 and this we use character is uppercase here. Yeah, if this expression if it's true, so the question mark behind this question mark with the first statement, we get this value as upper, and if it's false, after the colon, we get this value as lowercase. This is another use question mark and colon operators, but I do not recommend this type of format for you. In your coding work, try to use this format. It's more clear than this question mark and colon operators. Okay. Here's something I should make you know, that it's different from the C or C++. Inside the if expression in C and C++, we can put integer in expression. If the integer is greater than 0, that means it's true. But in Java, you are not allowed to do this. This x must be a Boolean value. So instead of put an integer x directly into parentheses in C or C++ language, in Java, you must put a Boolean value to it. So you should write an expression inside it. And this expression, once it's evaluated, it must give out a result as a Boolean value. Maybe it's true, maybe it's a false. So it's a very important difference between Java and C and C++. Okay. And the next is if you have more branches when you're making decision. If you make a decision only 2 branch, you can use if and else statement. But if I more than 2 branches, you should use the switch statement. Switch statement means you can have a lot of branches when you make the decision. I can go to a lot of branches, more than 2 branches, use switch statements, and put expressions into a parenthesis, and will match each of these statements. Here's a case as expression, and you can compare the expression with this parameter. If the same, so this case will be matched. Then the statement will be executed, and then be sure put the break, put the keywords here. And if you match this case and the executed statement, after finish it, you should get out of the switch branch. Get out of it. Yeah, if you forget to write this break here, what happened? That means the first branch, if it's matched and the statement is executed, then it will continue to the next statement. If it's matched, well, if we print out, it will be execute the statement, the second case, and means, well, the second case, the branch will be executed, and that is not what I want. So put the break. Don't forget it to put the break at the end of the case. Okay, and expressions. This expression we will now to use a lot of different types of expression. For example, the shot or int or byte or character is a noun or a string. If we use a JDK over the version of the 1.7, but the float or double or long are not allowed to put into expressions. Okay. And here's example. Now we have a month. We define it as an integer variable and we get its literal value as 8. And here's a switch. And switch is this variable, we put it as expression. So it's an integer value. Then the switch statement, we have a lot of case. It will look up this case one by one and find the matched one. Now we have the number is 8. If its number is 1, so this case will match it, and we statement output January and break. And if it's the month is 2, the second case will match it and print out February and then break. Now we have the value is 8, so we look up all these cases and then we find, oh, now we have an 8, so it's matched. So it says 9 the August on the screen and then break. But if here this expression we give a number, a little number as for example is 13, because we know that not a month at 13. We have 1 and 2 until 12, but 13 we don't have this month. So at this case, the default branch, the default case will be matched, and we print out, hey, that's no valid month, and then break. So the default branch means if all this expression all this case cannot match with this expression, then the default branch, default case will be executed. Okay. It's about switch statements. If you have more than 2 branches when you're making decision, use these switch statements. Okay. Well, about exception and handling statements, it's a very specific statements, and we were talking about this stuff in the, I think maybe the 7th chapter. We're talking about exception handling statements. Okay, and now it comes into the branching statements. The branching statements, we use these statements with the looping structure. So we have break and continue, and we define a label. Okay, and then return. Now, how to use them? Example. Now we have this code, and notice that the code have a while. Have a while loop. This while loop. Then inside the while loop have for loop. Inside the for loop, and inside the for loop we have a switch statements. That means now we have the switch statement is well, they have the expression C equal in dot read. In dot read, well, we're talking about the future is the API that allowed we get input characters from the keyboard. So we get character from keyboard and read the character, and then we put it to C. This is a value, a character value, and then this expression. And in the cases, we will try to match this expression, try to match its character. Okay, and if the character equals the -1 or the next line symbol, the character, so we will try to get out of this whole loop. So how to do it? If these 2 cases match it, well, we have statement. Break, no, we put it here. And the move is the label, and put the label at this, the first line, before the while, no while statement. Now that means if this statement, well, if this switch statement, here we got a character as /n. If it's matched, then the break. Break, and well, with control will get out of the whole loop. Get out of the whole loop. Okay, that is what this break mean. And next example, now have a for loop. It's a for loop body, and inside the for loop, and have a while loop, and it's a while loop and if else statements. And now we have a expression as j. If it's greater than 10, if j is greater than 10, that's true. We have the statement continue test. And test is a label, we marked it as a for before the for. That means once the j is greater than 10, then we'll continue test. That means that now the control this current if statement, we get out of the if statement, and we get out of the while loop, and we get out of the for loop. But that do not mean we end the whole for loop. We just end the current for loop and continue to next for loop. It's very important that continue is different from the break statement. Break statement means once we execute the break statement, now we will end the whole loop. We get out of goodbye loop. I'm not get back to it again. But if we use continue statement here, not only means we end the current loop, because we have a more than one times loop, and only end the current loop, and then we get into the next term. We execute the loop body again in the next turn. That do not mean the loop will be end. Only means we get the next turn of the loop, where we execute the loop body again. So this is different between the continue and the break. Okay, this is the point. And the return statement. The return statement, we use this return statement only inside the method. Inside the method, we define a return statement. For example, now we will define a statement as, if we define as int, and the statement we as name, we give its name as my add, for example, and we have two variables, and x and y, and inside the method body we will return the x plus y. The result will return. So now this inside the return we have the value as integer, and the return type of the method is integer. So we will get result as return value of the sum of x and y. Okay, this is about the return value. But sometimes if the method do not have return value, for example, now we have a void. It's my method, for example, the method, and sometimes inside it, and now we only return, but we do not return any result to this return value. So this return value we define as a void, and now return we do not have the parenthesis size. If we have some kind of return value, we must put the return value into a parenthesis size, and it will return the return value. Okay.